Thanks for joining me tonight, this lovely evening. It's beautiful weather outside. I think that, dare I say it, winter may actually be behind us at this point. Too soon to tell, of course, but wishful thinking. In response to yesterday's video, where I talked about how I may do a play-by-play of the entire shooting video with you guys. It seems like from the one comment I received, but also from the 3 emails that I received, that is something people would like to see. So my only question to you now is, would you guys like the audio included? Some of the audio is pretty horrific, as you can imagine. Or would you like me just to analyze it while I watch it, minus the audio for you guys? Let me know what you think, what you'd like to see on that. I'm happy to go about it either way. To be honest, I was a little bit worried about receiving a ban or some kind of report against my account for doing something like that. But I don't care, to be honest. If they want to shut me up and ban me or whatever they want to do, then that's fine. But I'm not going to be afraid to go ahead and speak the truth about what happened, especially when things don't make sense. And today, as we will talk about, people are reacting in an insane way in New Zealand in response to what's happened there. As well, I'll probably have a friend of mine who is a person in law enforcement. I'm not going to give any details on that because I don't want to put him out, as it were, or cause any kind of problems for him. But he has generously offered to be a guest speaker when we go over that video and give a law enforcement person's perspective on it. Really, really excited to have that occur here. I think it'll be an interesting event. Look for that in the next few days. Unfortunately, he is working until, I believe, he's off Wednesday, so we will try to do that this Wednesday. Today's Monday, for those of you guys listening, the 18th. Just about technically, well, I guess it is technically the 19th. I take that back. Okay, so let's dive into this super awesome article. It's courtesy of USA Today, and it is it is, in my opinion, as big or bigger a tragedy than the shooting itself. New Zealand's Prime Minister, I was right there, it is a Prime Minister. I'm not great on international politics. Most people from, I mean, you get what I'm saying. People from here generally aren't. And I'm not going to pretend that I am some kind of geopolitical expert, because I'm not. But anyway, New Zealand's Prime Minister vowed Monday to unveil gun law changes within a week. Within a week, you're passing legislation that will impact your entire country forever. Within a week? Are you fucking crazy? That is, to me, insane. That's insane. How do you do that? I mean, this country, every country that tries to pass laws within years still fucks it up. And you're going to pass it within a week. Holy fuck, don't tell me something isn't fishy here. Something is that if I had any doubts at all that something more was going on, within a week has settled any of those doubts. There's no reasonable way that should happen. Okay, those things require studies. Those require proper implementation. Those require lawyers looking over them. Those require, like, this is bonkers. I read this and I'm like, what the hell is going on? A week. I had to read that like 3 or 4 times to make sure I wasn't seeing shit. Oh man. So New Zealand's Prime Minister called on gun owners to surrender their firearms to police after last week's shooting rampage that left 50 people dead. Within 10 days of this horrific act of terrorism, we will have announced reforms which I believe will make our community safer, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Ardern? I don't even know how you say that. Ardern? Ardern sounds like a frickin' retard, too. So whatever it is. Jacinda Ardern. Ardern promised a review into security agencies after the mosque shootings, the New Zealand Herald reported. Why? Fucking why? If this shooting was just a madman having lost his goddamn mind, grabbed some guns and gone in and shooting things up, why do security agencies, and I'm assuming from this, and they don't rightly specify, but I'm assuming that they mean things like whatever their version of CIA, etc. is. But even if it's not, even if it's like police departments and things like that, what kind of review? But she says security agencies. It's got to be like intelligence agencies. So what is a review of them going to do? What could any agency, regardless, unless it's fucking Minority Report, do in a situation like this? Nothing. So my take on that is they're going to look at a way of inhibiting people's right to freedom. They're going to look at ways that they can start maybe spying on their own people, start putting them under the finger of the New Zealand government. That's the only thing, in my opinion, that makes sense at this point. New Zealand Police Commissioner Mike Bush, and more like Mike Hunt, said his officers would willingly accept guns from anyone who wanted to get rid of them. He suggested that people alert police ahead of time, given the current situation. Yeah, because definitely trust the police at all times, okay? And definitely just take your only means of defense in this modern, wonderful age in which people are blowing themselves up to kill your children, and give that away to the police. Because after all, don't we all know that if you need a gun, just call the cops. They've got lots. And the cops live in your basement, so they will be there lickety-split. Give me a fucking break. Ardern said she applauded people who handed in weapons and encouraged more to do so. Of course, you applaud them. Yeah, I hate to bring up Star Wars and things like this, and I'm sure you guys have all seen this meme, or if it's a meme, it's a section of the movie, but it's turned into a meme, in which they say, so this is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause. Yeah, this is literally that. Of course she's applauding it. Now people are giving up any means to defend themselves against any kind of government tyranny, should there be any kind of global event, should there be any. And you're applauding it. Some gun owners took to social media to share stories of giving up their semi-automatic rifles. John Hart, and we have his tweet. Boy, that's a treat. That rhymed there. A farmer and Green Party member, why am I not surprised on that, from the Wararapa, I don't know what the hell that is, said on Twitter he had owned a gun for 31 years. And, quote, on the farm they are a useful tool in some circumstances. But my convenience doesn't outweigh the risk of misuse, Hart tweeted. We don't need these in our country. Pew! My head exploded. I looked at that amount of stupidity. I couldn't even fucking... I couldn't stand it. I really couldn't stand it. So much pathetic retardation in 2 sentences. It's phenomenal. If there is an award for fucking dumbest person, this guy, there you go. Okay, so he owned a gun for 31 years. On the farm, they are a useful tool. He admits that. They are a tool. So he understands that they're a tool. He's also a tool, but a different kind of tool. And he's owned it for 31 years. And then he says, the risk of misuse. Well, John Hart, you've owned a fucking gun for 31 years, you fuck. How many cases of misuse in 31 years did you have? Fucking zero. Zero. And I'm assuming it's because John Hart was a responsible fucking gun owner. Just like a responsible car owner. okay? If you're a responsible car owner, you generally don't fucking misuse it and kill people. So, there's no difference. Okay? It doesn't outweigh the risk of misuse. John, unless you're planning on misusing that gun, which from the sounds of it you weren't, there's no risk. Like, the only risk is somebody else misusing their gun. This is insanity. I can't even believe that this is happening. This takes away all hope I have for the future. And I know this is New Zealand, and, you know, from an Australian guy I spoke to the other day about this, he said they're all a bunch of sheep bangers anyway. I'm assuming he meant that in a sexual fashion. But this shows the mentality. I mean, that might be New Zealand, but people's mentality around the world is becoming this exact thing. I'm incredulous. I'm staring at this thing still, and I read this maybe an hour ago for the first time, but I keep coming back and looking at this like, this guy is so proud that he's just given away his only means of defense for not only himself, but his entire family, and a useful tool. I mean, he lives on a farm, apparently, according to his quote. There's coyotes, there's other wildlife that might eat whatever you're fucking doing. Like, it's a useful tool. You admit that. Why are you giving it up? I don't understand. You giving up your gun as a responsible gun owner makes no one else safe. It has the absolute opposite effect, like those stupid fucking signs where people put a sign that says, this is a gun-free home. Cool. I know where I'm going to rob next. Like, you're not safer with no means of defending yourselves, especially if you live on a farm. How fucking close are the police to a farm? John Hart, I would rob your shit blind if I were a criminal, and you would deserve every moment of it. Jesus Christ. Let's move on. The New Zealand auction website TradeMe said it was pulling semi-automatic weapons from its sites. TradeMe CEO John McDonald had previously argued that his site was a better venue for dealing in weapons than more nefarious alternatives. Sure, I'd agree with that. I would agree that having it out there and not making it a big secretive underground thing and making people more afraid of guns, when you don't need to be afraid of guns, okay? I've got guns. I'm not afraid of them. No one around me is afraid of them because they're locked away. I'm responsible with them. You know, I take them out once in a while for cleaning or going, you know, out to the back and shooting them off a little bit at targets or whatever, but out here they're just a fucking tool like him. But it is clear public sentiment has changed in relation to semi-automatic weapons, and we acknowledge that, which is why we're putting this ban in place. Now, companies are self-banning. There's not even been any law against it, but already people and corporations are enforcing these things. They are deciding for you. Ugh, ridiculous. Gun City, a Christchurch gun shop, said Monday that it sold 4 guns to the accused shooter online since November 2017. We detected nothing extraordinary about the license holder, so he was a licensed gun holder. Store owner David Tipple said 2 of the guns used were semi-automatic weapons that had been modified. Illegal. There you go. He modified his guns to an illegal point and then used them in the commission of offense. So how is banning guns? They weren't legal guns he used. He bought them legally. He modified them to be illegal. Unreal. Monday, the man accused in the shooting, Brenton Tarrant, fired his lawyer and wants to represent himself at trial, the court-appointed lawyer said. Well, the court-appointed lawyer said that. Okay. I don't know how it works in New Zealand, but I know that in the United States, when something of note happens, many lawyers rush to try to be the one who takes that case, right? It make a name for themselves. Johnny Cochran the hell out of it. Even if he did it, even if he's guilty, you get your name in the paper and you get that fame, infamy, whatever you want to call it for lawyers. So I find it interesting that he had a court-appointed lawyer and he's going to represent himself. I would imagine that there would be some pretty up-and-coming feisty lawyers who would want to take that case, full well knowing they're going to lose, but still wanting to get that advertising, get that exposure. That's interesting to me. I will look more into that and have more for you guys on that if anything comes up. Richard Peters said the accused killer expressed no condolences or regret in the brief time they spent together. So, I'm assuming, and they don't say, but I'm assuming this Richard Peters is the court-appointed lawyer. Now, I know that they have lawyer-client confidentiality. So, why is this court-appointed lawyer saying the accused killer expressed no condolences or regret? That in my opinion, would... what the hell is the word I'm looking for? It would set it would set people against him, right? It's prejudicial. There we go. Prejudicial towards the person who his client, even though he's fired, that lawyer-client confidentiality, it's still got to stay in place, doesn't it? That's fucked up. See, the more you look at these things, the small details, the more bullshit comes out and the more things that don't make sense come out. And you start to see a pattern of things that don't make sense. And it's not just this incident. It's every single one of these. It's fucking unbelievable. He continues, what did seem apparent to me is he seemed quite clear and lucid, whereas this may seem like very irrational behavior. He didn't appear to me to be facing any challenges or mental impairment other than holding fairly extreme views. I'm not a fucking lawyer, but I gotta say, you're making a judgment as to the person's mental capacity, and then you are giving that we'll call it a judgment, snap judgment on the person's mental state as a defense lawyer for this person, and saying he seems fine, he's just an extremist about your client, which you shouldn't be talking about in the fucking first place. They're setting this guy up to fail hard, and they're aiming everything at him. People who are gonna, and I mean, no matter where you go in New Zealand or probably the world, people are gonna have known about this incident. You're telling me this guy's gonna get a fair jury, especially after putting that shit out? As your fucking lawyer puts that out? No. Unreal. That is just... This is fucked. This is all so fucked. Oh, Jesus Christ. So that John Hart, he posts a picture. He's the guy who turned the Green Party nerd. He's got a picture of himself, and isn't he a smug-looking fuck? I'm going to post that tweet so you guys can see that. Put that up here. His tweet, until today I was one of the New Zealanders who owned a semi-automatic rifle, and blah blah blah. Yeah, we don't need this kind of, we have to make sure it's #never again. This smug grin on this motherfucker's face, I would love for him to just get bit by a wild dog or something at this point and just be like, oh, if only I had my gun. Asshole. Another person replied to him on, and here's the tweet here. It's this exact gut instinct level response that makes more guns to solve the gun problem so laughable. Yeah, somebody replies, and this is well put. Yes, because disarm yourself to be at the mercy of others worked out so well for 50 people in Christchurch. How much mercy did the shooter show? The stance is both dangerously delusional and suicidal. You're absolutely correct. I can't see his @ handle in the tweet, but he's not wrong. He's absolutely correct. You are never safer without a means to defend yourself. I laugh thinking that people are like, oh, well, guns are illegal now. Oh, so criminals will definitely never have them. Right? You tell me that criminal who comes in to break into your house or invade your house with a group of his buddies is not going to have a gun because they're illegal? So he's just going to rob you with kind thoughts? Give me a fucking break. Like, of course he's going to have a gun. They're still going to have guns. Criminals, now more than ever. Like, if I'm a criminal, and I'm not, but if I was going to go and rob somebody, am I going to go to an area in which, like, fucking San Antonio, Texas, and start, like, holding people up? It'd be fucking stupid, because chances are you'd get lit the hell up and killed. Or am I going to go to someplace like gun-free zone in California in a nice upper suburb or whatever where guns are banned for legal possession? Fucking do the math. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not, and I hate using that word, but it's really not a difficult concept. To be able to defend your life or the life of your family is the most basic human right, basic human instinct that we have. And yet, people are foregoing that? Like, you giving up your gun because a maniac used a gun to shoot up a bunch of people makes you safer the next time a maniac goes to shoot up a bunch of people? What if you were in that crowd? Now, I spoke to a police officer one time who was in a shooting. I spoke to him at a conference. He wasn't on duty at the time. It was actually at a church in which he was with his son, and this person went into the church and started shooting people, and killed his son. His son was one of the victims. There were multiple victims, but killed his son. And the police officer in question, he's not the one who's going to be joining us. He's just somebody I spoke to. Didn't have his gun on him that day. He was allowed to carry it. And he said to me, I remember going to church, leaving work, going to church, looking at my gun in the locker and thinking, nah, I'll just leave it. Probably won't need it. And I can't imagine, and you could see it in his eyes. You could see that, they call it 1,000-yard stare, but just the pain and the horror of what that man must have gone through. Now, if he had had his gun, maybe his son would be alive. Maybe not. Maybe things would have gone differently anyway. But I know that if I had an opportunity to, I say an opportunity, but that's maybe the wrong term. Opportunity implies something awesome. But if I were put in the situation in which my family or myself or my friends or whomever, or an innocent person for that matter, was in danger, and I had the option of being armed to engage that person, at my own peril even, I would much rather be armed and attempt to stop that person than not be armed and be gunned down like a dog, have my family gunned down like a dog. I mean, these people, they are predators. This is what the media doesn't really seem to focus on, is people who are going to kill you or who have set out to kill you. If somebody is motivated to do you harm, there is very, very little you can do to dissuade that person. The only thing you can do is when this predator shows up at your doorstep, give him back exactly what they're bringing to your door. I kind of akin it to the, God, I mentioned in Star Wars again, but the Sand People in Star Wars a little bit, where, you know, they're messing up Luke Skywalker, and somebody comes out and he's scary as fuck. Now, obviously, he didn't have a gun or anything like that, but just for argument's sake, they take off. I know for a fact that criminals don't like confrontation. Hell, even the pirates off the coast of Somalia, they don't like confrontation. If they know that you're armed and you start shooting at them, they don't want to risk getting lit up. Criminals, for the most part, are fucking cowards. Okay? They're predators, but they are cowards. Okay? You start putting up a hail of fire at these motherfuckers, and look at all the videos that are captured of shooting. They go in, they're all hot to trot, they're about to hold up the 7-Eleven, they're about to hold up the Circle K, whatever the fuck they're doing, they're breaking into the dude's house. All of a sudden, and they're usually armed in these cases. There's even some from South Africa where violence, unfortunately, is very commonplace, in which they go to invade a home, and all of a sudden this old lady pops out with a revolver and starts blasting away at these motherfuckers. That's 3 or 4 criminals. They get ghosted in a hurry. They can't fucking stop themselves from tripping over each other trying to get away, because they don't want to get gunned down. So they don't show, and maybe that's an issue. It's like, do bad things happen with guns? Sure, they do. They absolutely do. Do good things happen with guns? I would wager, and I'll look into the numbers, and we'll talk about this maybe next time. I would wager that more good things happen because people are armed than bad things happen because people are armed. And I would wager that number is huge. The discrepancy would be huge. I bet you anything that, and I'll look into the CDC's website on that, and we'll discuss that maybe next time. But I just wanted to touch base with you guys on this. There's so much about this, again, that doesn't make sense. And people's response to this is just unbelievable. You know, not that I expect people to go out into the streets and cheer over what's happened. Of course I don't. All right? Innocent people, whatever race or religion, being killed is never a good thing. Okay? But what I would have hoped for, the best case I would hope for, is for a measured response from people. And you don't see it. You see feelings over facts every single time. And it makes me sick. I'm so tired of seeing these things, because for all we know, the end is near, the end is nigh. We don't know. Show me a politician you can actually trust. And I would be very surprised. I've seen one politician that I would actually trust, and it happened to be this dog who was voted mayor of this town. That's the one politician I would trust on this planet. Beyond that, you can tell a politician is lying or has something up their sleeve because their mouth is moving. And this is no different. I want to know. It seems to me, and I mean, let me know, because maybe I'm just off my rocker here again. But it seems to me that there is, I'm going to use Game of Thrones for an example. There's pieces behind what you're seeing. There's all these little moving pieces, puzzle pieces behind whatever. And they're all moving towards something. And I can't help but feel these things are all pointed towards that somehow. Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not going to come up with the most amazing solution or whatever to this. Maybe somebody out there who's listening is one of those people who has a theory. I'd love to hear about it, because my gut instinct on this is that there is more going on here and I'm not talking just about this shooting, but in all of these things, there's got to be some kind of a thread that connects all of this happening together. And what is the end game? There's got to be there must be an end game. There's got to be something, because none of these things, none of these September 11th, none of these things happen without someone in a position of mass authority at least knowing about it. Anyway, food for thought, guys. Thanks for hanging out here. I rambled a lot longer than I intended to. Throw me a comment. Let me know what you think. Really throw me a comment or an email if you're shy. And let me know if you want to hear the audio with the play-by-play, or you just want my guest and I to go over it without that. And I'll make that happen. You guys have a great night. Throw a like, subscribe if you'd love to hang out and join the chat again. If not, no worries here.